It's the 24th of November. I have 2 and 4 with me, 2 in the 10s, 4 in the 1s. So 2 is worth 20 and plus 4 is 24. Now, what do we know about 24? It is 2 times 12, so it's 2 12. So if you buy a dozen eggs and you get another dozen eggs, dozen being 12, then you have 2 dozen eggs. And eggs are one of the few things that is sold in dozens, a dozen being 12. So we have 2 dozen eggs, we have 24 as the number. But let's see, we're inside today because I just received back 2 pieces of art that were made by Michael Sherrill and have been traveling the US for 2 years. So today we'll look at one of them here in the living room, and tomorrow we'll look at the one that's downstairs. This one right here is called Fishtail. I call it Fishtails for my abbreviation, but it actually is a poplar. And this is all made, isn't it beautiful? You can see the scale by looking how big the numbers are. This has this swirl. The geometry in this is absolutely fantastic. The design concept is fantastic. So we see these are all pieces of poplar. These are all porcelain pieces. Look how many there are. What do you think how many there might be? I bet there's about 50 at least different pieces. Each one of them is made separately with porcelain, which you know is a very high silicon-based ceramic mud. You start with mud, you end up with higher silicon, and then glass becomes the highest level where it's almost entirely silicon, with a much higher percentage silicon and much higher temperature to fire. So this is all these pieces individually. How do you think they stay on there, and how does this stay up? Well, there's a spine in here, a skeletal spine that all of these pieces are connected to, and I think it's steel that it's connected, but you can't see it. And see, we have all these funny little shapes because that's what happens in nature. You get the little spots. Michael Sherrill uses nature, but then he augments it, and he creates how this has these little pieces here. He actually carves these out. He has this whole approach that he's created and invented to do this when the clay is not fully hard. So you see, it's not as smooth. He has this red pieces here, and then the yellow, and then all these little spots. So it's not only a glazing, he actually works with tools that he's created to actually make this. So this is the fishtail, and then how does it stand? Well, there is no real foot to it, but what do we know about the design that he's done? It's sitting on this piece down here, one little piece, the point of this one, the point here of this one right there, 1, 2, and the point, the base of this one. So it's forming a triangle, as number 3 wants to, whoa, you lost your mask, number 3, let's put it back on. Number 3 wants you to know that it's forming a triangle, which is what gives it support and stands up. Is that fascinating? So each one of these little pieces is individually made. I went down to visit him. He lives near Asheville in North Carolina, where he has his studio. He has acres and acres, and he also creates mud tools, has a firm called Mud Tools, which actually has the tools that he needs, that he developed as a ceramicist, as he developed new techniques, like how to do all these different characteristics that he takes with the clay. It's not all done on a wheel. This is not done on a wheel, I'm pretty sure, but I'd have to know for sure from him. Michael Sherrill is the artist from near Asheville, and he is one of our best in the US. He's actually a sculptor. He's way beyond just being a ceramicist. He actually uses materials of glass and metal and wax and mud at various different levels. So let me show you one of his earliest pieces that I have. I'll bring it over. He started with teapots. This is one of his early teapots that I got and I still have. It did not go in the show. 2 of the pieces of the 4 that were in this show traveling for 4 years stayed at Tempe, Arizona. One is called Green Tea, and the other one was called Locust Bottles, which I put in my one film on pears. So this is where he started, and this is where he was in 2000. And now his pieces are even larger and larger, and almost entirely where they're made for someone in particular. So That is the fishtail poplar with the technique, beautiful accumulation, but the geometry to get it not only to stay, but to stand without having actual fixed feet, forming a triangle. It's very stable. This is the Numbers Lady. Tomorrow we'll look at another piece that I brought back, and we'll see how it compares to the different kinds of techniques that he uses. Bye-bye.